Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. Today is Monday, May 2nd, 2022. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I am joined by the one and only Miss Deb Lutz. How are you, Deb?
All good.
You ready to go?
Let's do this. Love the playoffs.
I had to wear the Mavs hat.
Look at that hat. Ooh, this is game time, baby. This is mano y mano.
There's no playing around here. We've got Mavs against your Suns, and we moved our podcast. Usually we do one on Sunday, so we did it on Monday to be able to break this down and see what we're looking at here. So it's going to be interesting.
It's going to be a great series.
Yes, and we have a lot of information here to share. We're going to go over some NBA information for both of these semifinal rounds of these two games, first game in each series. So it's going to be a lot to discuss. We have to figure out some matchups and determine which way we're going to go. So we'll go over some of that information. We'll also touch on a few prize picks plays. I'll update those here towards the end of the podcast so we can get some fresh ones picks for you from that. I'd like to thank our presenting sponsor, who is Prizepicks. Go to prizepicks.com, sign up with the promo code Coach Talk, all one word, no space, and they will match you dollar for dollar on your first deposit all the way up to $100. So if you haven't joined, it is the time to join. Conference semifinals in the NBA, tons of MLB, and they have all kinds of other sports as well. So join in with Prizepicks, and don't forget to use that promo code Coach Talk. All right, if you're watching this on YouTube, please let's start right out. Hit the thumbs up, get it over with, get it done. We really need that to move up that algorithm on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button, and while you're at it, click that little alarm in the upper corner. That'll let you know when any of our podcasts post, which we are posting 7 day a week, NBA and MLB, and once a week, PGA as well. So we've got podcasts going out like crazy in front of the paywall, and just give us that quick thumbs up. That means a lot. All right, here we go, Deb. No messing around.
All right.
We've got two games today and a lot of drama with both games because there's some information to share. The first one is at 7:30, so half an hour later than normal, so you get your 30 minutes extra to get those lineups set. It is the Philadelphia 76ers at the Miami Heat. Miami is favored by 7.5, pretty big spread, 208.5, low total. 100.5 is the implied total for Philadelphia, 108 flat for the Miami Heat. For Philadelphia, of course, everybody knows that Joel Embiid is out. He has a concussion, an orbital fracture, and also a torn ligament in his thumb. So the word is, as of right now, he didn't make the trip to Miami. He's going to be out the first two games for sure. And then if he passes concussion protocol, could be back after that, playing probably with a mask for the orbital fracture and his thumb all bandaged up and braced up to try to play through that torn ligament. So rough situation for the Sixers and Embiid for sure. They do have Charles Bassey as probable. For Miami, and Deb and I were talking a little bit about this before the podcast, they have, been on this run here in the playoffs of just listing a ton of guys as questionable and probable and all kinds of other stuff like that. So I'm not taking much into all of these questionable tags. Some of them on some sites have already turned to probable. So as Deb and I discuss this, we're counting everybody in. Until I see any of these guys out, then we'll evaluate at that point. But for the purposes of this breakdown and looking at everything, we've got everybody as in. They have listed right now Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, Caleb Martin, Markieff Morris, Max Strus, and PJ Tucker all listed as questionable, which Yeah, it's
They can't
ridiculous.
field a team.
Yeah, exactly. So they can forfeit because they don't have 8 guys, right?
Right.
Yeah. So the only piece of news that matters is Kyle Lowry is out. And that is important because he is, a leader with a championship under his belt. And they're definitely going to be missing him. So, we know how to adjust from there. So everybody else we've got is in this game. We know the spread is pretty low. And then, Deb, before I throw it over to you to start breaking these teams down, just as in comparison to the second game, as far as totals and spreads, because that means a lot when you're determining, where to stack in a 2-game slate, because somewhere is probably going to be a stack for you. And in the other game, Dallas and Phoenix, which we'll be watching probably, Phoenix is favored by 5.5, and the over under is 214.5. 104.5 implied for Dallas and 110 for Phoenix. And the reason I share that is as we break down, if you look at those implied totals, it's pretty tight. I mean, you've got 110 for Phoenix, 108 for Miami, 104.5 for Dallas, and 100.5 for Philly. So I guess, and we'll get your take on this, I'm not letting the spreads or totals affect my choices at all. I think both of these games will be fairly low scoring, hard fought. Whereas yesterday, one great thing we did, if you listen to the podcast, really favored that second game to be way more high scoring and high DFS points in that Golden State game. And it would just crush the other game. So the good news is, Deb, is I was all over that. The bad news is I didn't have the right guys.
I
it is what it is.
You needed Poole instead of Thompson, right?
I needed a reset, a start over is what I needed. So yesterday was a somewhat of a disaster, but you know what? Sometimes it's better to finish really lousy than just miss cashing, right?
That's right. That's right. Get that out of your system.
Out of the system.
Tonight's a grind it out kind of night, and this is where you excel, Coach. So I think.
Well, I appreciate that.
I think for those listening, this is going to be. We're going to get some money tonight.
We are, and I'm a little bit ticked off, so I'm a little grumpy. I got the Mavs hat on. It got us a win of that last series, so I figured you'd have Barkley in the background. I got lucky.
I keep changing where I'm podcasting from. We've been traveling a bit, so I don't have him up, but I can tell you, if not up, then for tomorrow, I'm going to be wearing him because we're going to pull down the victory tonight.
All right. We will see. Well, let's attack this Philadelphia and Miami game. So game 1 of this series should be great. I mean, this should be a terrific semifinals. Miami earned that first seed with guys injured left, right, and backwards, but this should be a really competitive series if they can play without Joel, at least in the first couple of games. So let's talk about Philadelphia first.
Yep.
I'll mention one thing, and then I'll let you break down Philly for us.
Okay.
Paul Reed, I believe Paul Reed starts at center as opposed to DeAndre Jordan or Paul Millsap. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to play the whole game. He's not going to play Embiid minutes, but I think he's going to be the key big. And I believe that for a couple of reasons. Jordan and Millsap are at the end of their careers. Reed has played well in his opportunities. And Miami, not being a huge team, a small 4 and PJ Tucker, Bam is really an undersized center. So they can get away with a guy like Reed, I think, at center. So the fact that he's so cheap, at 4.2, I'm looking right now, unless I see different, we'll update our members in Discord as the day goes on and we'll have lineups. But I look at Paul Reed as a complete free square. He's going to be in every one of my lineups and he's going to make the salary work in other places. And I think he's going to be so incredibly chalky that just as a chalk blocker, Deb, it's like, even if he just does subpar, it's not going to hurt you if 75% of the other people have him,
Yeah. I think that's right. And we'll be taking a look later on today at what projected ownerships look like. But I totally agree. He's going to be incredibly chalky. And I think he could do well. I mean, he has shown to be like a points per minutes guy. He's pretty strong. So if he gets, between 20 and 25 minutes, he could have a really, really nice game. So totally agree with you on that, Coach. I think the other guys for me on Philadelphia, I think, the big question is, does this revert back to Harden's team? So does this become, Harden's team of like the Houston, 2 years ago, as opposed to how he showed up in Brooklyn and how he's shown up to date in Philly?
Yeah.
And for that, I'm definitely going to be taking a look at Harden. I think he's fairly priced. If he gives you a 45, okay, so be it. You didn't hit the home run, but if he gives you a 65, you did, and he could be the high scorer on the night. So I think there's some risk there, but some good upside. The other guys I really like, I think also, good upside, not much risk, frankly, are Maxey and Harris. I think that they both get a lot more usage with Embiid off the floor. And I think their prices are fair. 7,500 for Maxey, 8K for Harris. I think their prices are reasonable. And again, I think there's just not a lot of offensive players, particularly in the secondary on the second team on the Sixers. And so I think the consolidation of offense is going to be through those three key guys. So I'm going to have a lot of a combination of them in my lineups.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you. I think, as I say, I think Reed's just a plug and play, and I don't particularly like the bench either. Philly has, a decent bench with Shake Milton, Georges Niang, who will get a little extra time, with
Thibault and
Thibault, DeAndre Jordan, Paul Millsap. All those guys will probably get some minutes. I mean, by the way, I have Reed at 28.5 minutes.
Okay.
So if he does get that many, that's why, I really like him. But in speaking about all those bench guys, and again, they'll all grab a few extra minutes with Embiid's absence, but my main thing is the same as you. I think the big decision on this slate is very simple. Do you believe that James Harden can lead a team in the playoffs here and, just have a blow-up game? I mean, he's right under that 10K number. So it is a big commitment. I mean, there's no question about it. He is the second highest priced guy on the entire slate after Luka. Mm-hmm. So, it's no joke committing to him. Can he do it? Now, with Embiid out, he's going to be the focal point. But I don't know, Deb, I have not seen in quite some time the massive Harden that just dominates a game. I mean, is it there anymore is the question, and Miami's defense, they're, without Embiid in there, they're going to try to, hammer away at Harden like crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm concerned about the Harden play.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, I think it's high risk, high reward. It may be, as I put together the GPP, I may be looking at in particular FanDuel lineup where I can get a Doncic and a Harden in together and see if that just breaks it. But other than that, I agree. I think the Maxey and Harris plays are definitely, more of the cash route kind of plays.
Now, did you say Doncic just to agitate me? You did, didn't you?
I did.
You think you're Crash Davis, huh?
I'm channeling Crash.
Doncic. Oh my goodness. I can't believe it. But anyway, even though that threw me off, I didn't hear anything else you said after Doncic. Right. But I think right now I'm leaning towards Maxey and Harris as the guys. I just, they are both playing good basketball. Mm-hmm. Maxey, I think, is a star waiting to happen. And Harris, you know what? This is a gut check for him. I mean, he's the forgotten guy there. Really. I mean, he signed a massive contract. He was an all-star. And we're talking about a guy that not recently in the past. And we're talking about a guy that, after with a Harden Embiid thing was just, an add-on, an afterthought. Yeah. So at 8K and then 7.4 for Maxey on DraftKings, that medium build with those two guys, I think they could, lead this team in fantasy points if Miami's really going to key on Harden, like I think they will. Now, I will say it doesn't help having Lowry out because he would have been guarding
All over
Harden.
him, right?
And yeah, so that changes the dynamics a little bit. But don't be surprised if Jimmy Butler guards James Harden.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm counting on. So I'm going to, a lot of coach speak, a lot of beat writer info, and we'll be following it. But my expectation is you're going to see Butler on Harden. And therefore, I'm going to be probably stacking up. Believe, it sounds crazy, but Maxey, Harris, and Reed, I may have 3 Sixers in my lineup.
It's going to be a great battle.
Yeah,
for sure.
It is.
On the Miami side, there's still a few value plays here on Miami with Lowry sitting. You've got Vincent in at 4,800 FanDuel, 44 DK. I mean, he's been around hitting his number, not consistently every night, but he's in there. And then you have Strus, who has been hitting his number, 4,900 on FanDuel, 47 on DK. So, I think my preference is Strus. But we'll be waiting on that news because he is still questionable, and it could be a flip to Vincent in that case. You also got to like Bam tonight. He's 7,400 FanDuel. He's power forward eligible, 7,300 on DK. That's a really fair price against what's going to be a much weakened front court. Interior D. You've got, Bam started slow. He was a bit dinged up in that first series, but came on strong towards the end. So he's almost going to be a plug and play for me. I think he's going to be very chalky as well.
Yeah.
And then, I'm looking at Butler and Hero, but on FanDuel, Butler is at 10K. Bit pricey. So I'm not going to go with him there, but on DK, I think I can slot him in at 9,200. Butler is one of those guys. I mean, he brings it for the playoffs. He used to play on Philly. He's definitely has a, agenda against them as they didn't want to keep him. And, I think he hits that number at the 92 on DK. Hero's the opposite. I like him on FanDuel where he's sub 6K. So Hero has not played particularly well against Philadelphia in the regular season, but at 5,600 on DK or on FanDuel, that might just be too good to pass up.
Yeah, 5,600 is cheap. 64 on DK is not bad either because he's so streaky. But it's a risk. There's no doubt he's not exploded like he has in the past. But you do have clutch time with no Lowry on the floor, so he's going to handle the ball down the stretch. And he's a stud at that price. It's very hard to pass that up. But I find myself wanting too many of these Heat guys too. That's the other concern I have is I don't want to have 7 of my 9 guys or 8 guys out of this game alone. But it just seems like the pricing is so favorable. It wasn't like this yesterday with yesterday's games, but in this game, Vincent's going to play solid minutes at 4-4. Strus has been very tough. He really should be over 5K the way he's played so far, and he's getting minutes. So at 4-7, he's hard to pass up. And then I agree with you and everything you said about Butler. He's a primetime guy. This is where the spotlight is. Danny Green is too old to guard him, in my opinion. I'm not sure they have a great matchup for him. If the game stays close, he could have a monster game. There's no doubt he may need to be rostered and be in most of the optimal lineups. So the problem is I don't really want to spend the 9.2 for Butler. And even though it's a steal, Bam at 7.3 is the guy, I agree with you, is the guy that I'm looking at the most. And he's cheaper on FanDuel, I believe. So yeah. So
he's 7,400 on FanDuel.
Or 74. Okay. So that mid-level price for him, and I 100% agree with you. Really, those first couple of games in the last series, he probably shouldn't have even played. He just wasn't right. You could see him improve and get healthier as the series went on. They've had a couple of days off now. I think Bam, with no Embiid on the interior, we've seen in the past. Embiid is a fantastic interior defender. I think other than probably Gobert, he may be the best defensive center in the league. I really believe that. And, to lose him and go with an undersized Paul Reed or somewhat of a washed up Jordan or Millsap, I mean, it just opens everything up in the paint. And so I think Bam is a fantastic play. So I'm leaning that direction. But again, I don't want to go all in on the Heat and play both he and Butler. So I'll have exposure here with Bam and a cheap hero, a cheap Strus, and make a determination from there. But I think those guys are all terrific plays. I'm not going to go any deeper. I know Oladipo stung me in that one game where I faded him. And I get it. He's playing better, but I still don't think, I don't want to pay 5-1 for him, when you have a 5-6 Tyler Hero in some spots. I mean, it doesn't add up for me. Caleb Martin, those guys, just, you don't need to go that deep, I don't think. So
not tonight.
Yeah, I don't believe so either. And there's lots of value. So that's what makes it nice. And it allows me to save up for my Luka Doncic money.
I thought you were saving up for Chris Paul.
Oh, no. He's too old, man. He's due to miss one shot, right?
Right.
14 for 14. Are you kidding me? In a closeout game? Unbelievable.
Yeah, that was unreal.
Yes. Anything else in the Sixers Heat game?
No, I'm good. Ready to move on.
Okay, let's go after this second game, and it's the Dallas Mavericks at the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix favored by 5.5, 214.5 total, 104.5 implied for Dallas, a clean 110 for Phoenix. We know Tim Hardaway is out for Dallas. We know Dario Saric is out for Phoenix. Booker's back and feeling good. Everybody's ready to roll. This is, one of those games and series where we'll see, what's going to take place here. I will say that as a Mavs fan, I don't feel super confident against the Suns. And I hope I'm wrong. The spread's only 5.5, which is reasonable. But, the Suns with a full squad with home court advantage are going to be tough to beat. And the question is, and I'll pass it to you on this one, because this is the $1 million question. How do you believe Phoenix will defend Luka? And that's going to domino effect everything else in our builds here. So what is your strategy as a Suns fan here on how you want to stop Mr. Doncic?
Yeah, I was thinking about this because Chris Paul in his prime is a great defender, but he's getting old. He's slowed a little bit. He doesn't have the size for Doncic.
Yep.
So, I would want to put Bridges on him.
Yeah.
I think, the way the NBA games play today, it doesn't have to be positional. You don't need a guard on a guard. And I just think that Bridges is the best defender by far on the team. He's got the size, he's got the speed, and I'd like to see him on Doncic. So we'll see. What do you think?
I agree. I think it's 100% Bridges. But here's the thing that is interesting to me. The Mavs, pretty much their strategy has been, okay, we're going to bump off this best defender against Luka, and we're going to run a high pick and roll, with Dwight Powell or Maxey, and we're going to, get the pick done and get the switch that we want. Because what we want is whoever, Ayton's guarding probably is going to be the guy. They're going to try to get Luka in ISOs against Ayton, and that has worked in the past.
Yeah.
So my question is, what is Monty going to do? He's not going to allow that every time down the floor.
No.
So, are they going to double it? And my concern is that they are. I'm saying and joking, Luka's saving the money for Luka. I don't think I'm going to play Luka here. Can you believe that?
Wow.
I know. I think Bridges and Crowder are such good defenders, and Crowder knows Luka's game. Bridges will be the guy that gets him. Crowder will get some minutes on him, and Cam Johnson is a very adept defender. And they're big enough because if Luka's been able to take advantage of small guys just by backing them down, like slow motion back down and get him in the paint, or the big guys, he's either going to do the step back three or he's going to beat him off the dribble. But what I think they're really going to do is they're going to make somebody else beat them. I think they're going to blitz them. Now, I said this about John Morant yesterday and some guys, and they weren't able, to do that. So maybe they can, Luka's just that good that they can't. But I think they start Bridges on them and they have something to combat that high pick and roll. I think they're going to run somebody else at them, whether it be Crowder or a Paul or whatever. I think they're going to try to make him give it up. And I think the key guys in this game are going to probably be Jalen Brunson and then Spencer Dinwiddie off the bench. And I think you got to watch, Bullock and Finney Smith because they're going to be spotting up for three, and they should get some wide open threes.
Yeah.
The question is, can they hit them?
Can they hit them? Yeah.
Yeah. So, my hope is that the Suns don't guard that pick and roll well, and they get a lot of ISOs with Ayton on Luka. That would be wonderful. But I don't think Monty will allow Luka to drop 40 or 50 real points. I think he's going to make a Brunson, a Bullock, a Finney Smith, a Dinwiddie, a Kleba. Somebody in that group's going to have like 25 points and really step up, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I would totally agree with that. I think the challenge is who's it going to be? Because I don't want a lineup stacked with, Kleber and and Dinwiddie and Bullock. I think that can also burn you. So
big time, because they're not all going to have big.
Well, games. Right, exactly. So I'm actually, I don't think that Luka has his 70-point night, but he's still going to be my primary pay up option because he could very easily have a 55-point night, fantasy point night. In which case, he still beats Butler. And he potentially beats Harden, depending on the Harden who shows up.
Yes.
And I think he's going to do it less with points and more with, a triple double potentially and getting a lot of assists because he will be getting it to other guys. So, so I still like Luka here. He is extremely expensive, but I think with the value on this slate, I can get him in. He's $11K on Fanduel, 11.2 on DK. He is going to need a big game. He hasn't hit that high point against the Suns, but this is the playoffs. I think it's the first time they've played each other in the playoffs recently, right? I mean, so this is going to be, and they don't play each other a lot during the regular season. So it's going to be a great game. I also do like Dinwiddie and Brunson. I think they're both fairly priced as the number 2 and 3 options offensively. So I'm going to have, probably one of them in each of my lineups. Dinwiddie's clearly the more of the value play, but he hasn't had the ceiling that Brunson has. He won't be on the court as much as Brunson will. But I do like those guys. And then I'm actually not going to go with any of the lower price guys. I looked real hard at Kleber and Powell, and I'd gone with forgetting his name, Bullock. I had gone with Bullock a lot in the last series, and I did well with him. But I just think the D here is better against the 3, and I just don't think it's gonna happen in this series. So that's it for me on the Dallas side. For my Suns, I think Ayton plays great here. I mean, we know that the weakest part of Dallas is their interior D. I think Ayton can have a big game. He's only 7,700 on DK. I think he's really solid. And my only choice is going to be, do I play Adebayo and Ayton or just go with one of them? But because Adebayo is power forward eligible on FanDuel, I can play both. And I think that's going to be more likely where I'm going. I like Cam Johnson a little more than Crowder. I think he's got some more upside offensively. He's 4,700 FanDuel, 4,900 on DK. So I am going to keep him in and possibly campaign in a GPP as a 3,400 DK fill-in. It's all going to come down to he's starting to play better. I've been watching every game. He was terrible at the beginning of the last series. Last few games, he was playing better, but will he get the minutes? If he gets 18 to 20 minutes, he can hit his number. Less than that, I don't think so. So he's really a GPP for me.
Yeah. And, to clarify for me, I'll have 2 builds. I'll have one with Luka and one without. And the reason, the one without, I'm going to load up with, the Butlers and Adebayos probably, and Harris and Maxey and Brunson. And if you're going to play all those guys, you can't afford Luka. So I'll have a build with and without him, because I agree with you on this point. Luka, very, very likely to have the most raw points, as far as fantasy points. So the question is, is it going to be equitable? And if he's going to get 60 fantasy points, is it worth the 11-2 to just get the raw points? And that's the key decision you have to make, because if he gets 58 or 60, that's still not 5x plus 10. And does it make you have to take the secondary guys like the Crowders or Tuckers or Greens or somebody that you have to throw one in and hold your nose? That's the difference. So I think two builds make sense, one with Luka, one without. But, the question is, how much can they hold him down and how they're going to defend him? Now, we'll see a lot of it in game one, so we'll get a feel knowing after this game how it's going to go in the series. But I agree with what you said about the secondary Mavericks guys. There's massive risk there because everybody that we've mentioned, other than Brunson's over that now. He's a legit. But Bullock, Finney-Smith, Powell, Dinwiddie, Kleba, and I'm not even going to mention Josh Green, but those guys are all going to get minutes, but there's a very good chance that they could completely bust. Right. Now, like I said, somebody's going to get some open shots. So if they hit them, they could pay off. Too much risk for me. I'm with you there. So on the Phoenix side, I'll tell you what, that I've been impressed by the minutes Mikal Bridges has been playing. He is playing almost the entire game. And I think they need him out there to defend Luka. He may get a few small breaks when Luka sits, but at 6'1", that's still pretty darn cheap. And I think that, he becomes a really nice play. I will say there's two little narratives here that people don't remember, but Jay Crowder's only 4'6". He plays well against the Mavericks, and he's an ex-Mav. They sort of let him go for nothing and just decided to move on. And Crowder's one of those guys that doesn't forget that stuff. He's an intense dude. So little bit of a thumb up for Jay Crowder at 4'6". And the same can be said about Cam Payne. He's only 3'4". He played in the summer league. He played fantastic for the Mavs a couple of years back. They decided to go a different direction, which was really surprising because he'd have been a fine backup. So those two guys have a little extra motivation.
Interesting.
And guys,
I didn't know that about Cam Payne. Yeah.
Yeah, he led the actual summer league that year in scoring.
Wow.
And then ended up signing with Phoenix. And that's why, if you've ever seen that clip when LeBron's, MF and Payne for squawking, and he says, "You were out of the league, brother. Quit your yapping." But that was right after that. So, so anyway, those are two guys, definitely GPP plays on both of them. I like them both. After that, though, I think Paul at 9-1. I mean, how can you say 9-1's overpriced for a guy that gets double-digit assists for like 1 million games in a row with no turnovers? He didn't miss a stinking shot last game. I mean, there's going to be regression. Yeah. But, I mean, you didn't really mention CP here.
No, I just, with Booker back at full strength, Paul's going to look to pass first, not shoot first. I mean, he had to be the offensive guy the last couple of games. Yeah. He doesn't have to anymore. He will he will get a ton of assists, but I just don't think, he's got a lot of upside on that number. I think it's game one. He's been playing a ton. I think they play him a few minutes less because he's old. And I just think that it's a safe play. He's not going to get you a 25, but I just don't think there's a lot of upside there.
That makes sense. And, I'm probably going to go the same way. And Booker at 8.5, that's not a bad price either. Has a tendency, though, to be, a little bit more points dependent. But
yeah, and I just respect the Dallas D. I mean, they're, I mean, look at what they did to Mitchell.
Yeah. They defend well, and they get out and they defend the three too.
Yeah.
So they're not going to get a bunch of cheap looks.
Yeah.
So, but if Phoenix is going to win this game, Paul and Booker, are going to have to step up because they're not, Bridges, anything, he gets you as strong bonus, but Crowder and some of those guys are just, they're not going to be top scorers. The question for me is going to be on Ayton, and I've played Ayton a couple of times against the Mavs this year, and he disappointed me. I just worry about his minutes and in the clutch time. I don't know. I know he's playing better, but Dallas does a better job guarding the pick and roll, keeping, guys like him on the roll from getting the lobs as much, as can be expected. I mean, you're going to give up some, there's no way around it, but I don't know. I mean, with the two guys behind him, McGee especially, and Biyombo, they'll probably get some minutes. I don't know. I'm not sold on Ayton. And I play bigs against Dallas all the time.
Yeah.
I'm more leaning towards the forwards and possibly Book if I can fit them in the non-Luka lineup. But I don't know. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game.
Yes,
than the first game. And again, we were right about that yesterday. Now it's just putting the right guys in there. But it is, it is 6 points lower of a total for the first game, Philly, Miami. Yeah. So I disagree. I think that game opens up a little bit without Embiid in there, as far as it's not going to Embiid, it slows it down. He's bigger inside defensively. I think you get a little bit more punch there. And I think Dallas and Phoenix, let's face it, they were two of the top 3 or 4 defensive teams the second half of the season consistently. I mean, there was no wavering from that. Those two just played great defense. So I'll have more ownership in the first game. I'll have a lineup built with Luka and one without. And then we'll just see how it all rolls out. But game one in any series, teams fill each other out. You'll get a little more bench play. It's always important to win game one, but it's not like, elimination feel to it. So you're going to get a lot of posturing from all 4 of these teams. And I think you can make some strong assumptions on who's guarding who, how they're going to approach it. And therefore we can put some good lineups together. So if you do want to catch more information on this, join us, dfscoachtalk.com. You can jump in for as little as a 3-day pass for $10. And we'll go through all this information throughout the day. We'll talk about it in Discord. We'll post the lineups when they come out, any coach speak, any beat writer info, what are the matchups. A lot of it they'll hold to themselves, and they're not going to let that information out there. But, you're getting a really great coach in Monty Williams. Jason Kidd, who can say, I mean, look what he's done here. Rick Carlisle had the last 10 years, he didn't get the Mavs past the first round in the playoffs. Yeah. And first year in, Jason Kidd, boom, they're in the second round. So I'm impressed with what he's been able to do there. And I'm hoping this can be a very good series. There is always a question that Phoenix could just rise up and smack Dallas around here a little bit, but let's hope that's not the case. I'd like to see a good competitive series. Yeah.
Sounds good. Hey, are we doing any prize picks today?
Yes. Let's jump over to prize picks. And I wanted to wait until the end to refresh it because as we do these, they add a bunch of spots. Yeah. Do you have one lined up?
I do.
Okay.
So I got a few. I felt like the values were a little bit off today. So, okay. You said it earlier, Chris Paul, double-digit assists for forever, and he's at 9.5 on Prize Picks. So I like the over. I'll take the over on Chris Paul on 9.5 assists.
I like that. And what's hilarious? I like Luka over
Nice.
7.5 assists.
I love it.
I think that's a little low.
I agree.
I think both of them. I like both of those plays, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I think both of these guys are going to run the show and be good assist guys. So
Yeah, I agree.
I do, really do. All right, what else you got?
I've got Harden at 23.5 points.
Oh,
Philly doesn't even come close if Harden can't get at least 25 points. I mean, there's just, again, there, you're pulling out, like 28 points a game with Embiid. So, I think that's a real, he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. But Maxey also can, play some point and be passing it off to Harden. So I think Harden's got to, I think Harden, it's the kind of game where he's got to take, 25 shots and, half of them are probably threes. So I like him above 23.5 points.
Yeah. I mean, he could smash that. There's no doubt. He's certainly going to get the shots up. So that makes perfect sense. I am going to go under DeAndre Ayton, real points, 17.5. And again, I'm not convinced that he gets enough looks. I mean, they don't go to him enough. I think they should. I just don't think they do. And in watching Phoenix and Dallas play this year, again, I think I had Ayton in every matchup, and he either didn't get the ball enough. He does have spurts during games where he's a little disinterested at times, or for some reason it just looks that way.
Yeah.
And then, with the two backup centers that they have, I'm just thinking, I have him at 14, 15 maybe points. So I think he's under on the real point side. Now he could have a double-double, 15 and 10, something like that, and be a fine play. But I'm going to go under 17.5.
Okay.
All right.
I like it.
We'll have some more too when we post lineups. We'll be posting in Discord at 7 p.m. So we'll add a few Prize Picks plays at that point. And then do you want to mention real quickly, I'm very excited about, in case any of our Kraus House people are listening, you want to give them a quick reminder of our AMA time this afternoon?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are partnering with Kraus House, which is a community of basketball fans who are venturing to buy an NBA team. Big connection with basketball lovers. And Coach is hosting an AMA at 6 p.m. Eastern tonight. Got to join into the Kraus House Discord under Hangouts to check that out. And in addition, Coach is offering up a 7-day trial exclusive to Kraus House members, which is a big value. So real excited about that.
Yes, very, very excited as well. And an awesome organization that's looking to purchase an NBA franchise. So how cool would that be?
Right.
No doubt. All right. Well,
awesome.
Sounds good. I think it's going to be a fun one. There's no doubt. It's going to be a couple of games that we really don't know what to expect totally. So it's going to be fun to see how it plays out. But great job, Deb. Any final comments?
No, I'm looking forward to DMing you tonight every time Ayton scores.
I'll be pronouncing. I'll just record Doncic, and I'll put that up every time he whacks a 3 on the mismatch against Mr. Ayton. Well, good luck tonight. I do hope it's a good series, and I hope everybody really gets after it, DFS wise and Prize Picks wise. So appreciate it, Deb, and everybody that listened in. Enjoy those games tonight. We'll certainly be back again tomorrow when we look to crush it in NBA, DFS, and Prize Picks.